Well, I think it's actually happening. Can you guys see me, hear me? Do you have a Zoom app? Can anybody hear me, see me? Well, I think it's actually happening. Whoops. Can you guys see me, hear me? Do you have a Zoom app? Can anybody? Okay. Yay. Let me get myself together here. Yeah, okay. Yay! Oh my gosh. Okay, so here's the status. Um, I'm having to use Wi-Fi out in my office, so I don't know how stable this is going to be. There might be a lot of lagging with the upload for the live stream. I normally use Ethernet here in my office because it's a much more stable and stronger connection, but for some reason that has gone out. Oh my gosh. Already I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to call, the people to come and fix it. So, oh my goodness, that was quite a little odyssey. Thank you all so much for sticking with it today. Oh my, that just makes my heart like the size of Texas. Thank you. Thank you. It's so kind of you to be patient with this process. As you all know from your own experience, technology is a little bit iffy at times. So here we go. I'm just going to dive right in. Love you all. Thank you. Hello, beloved ones. It is wonderful to be with you today. So let's just quickly look at what happened. Regardless of why it happened, why the delay happened with the technology, what is so wonderful to acknowledge is that not only did you stay, but you stayed together. You chatted with each other. You reached out to find out with Danielle what was happening and can I help? You gave great suggestions. You were a community. You are a community. And when there is kindness, there is true community. And so just for a moment, open your hearts to that. To the beauty of community. To the simple kindness of reaching out to each other, to support, to exercise patience, and to share your love with Danielle as she is struggling with the technology. Because you have compassion, you have been there before. It has happened to you, maybe not in the exact same way, but it has happened to you. And so all of a sudden, all these different aspects of love are present for you to enjoy, for you to share, for you to receive. And from this place of love and community, we come to what I wish to focus on today. And this may be a subject that is uncomfortable for you to hear, or it might not be what you feel you want to listen to or to contemplate. And that is all right. You may stay, you may go, whatever feels right for you. Because today I'm going to talk about an energy, a presence that is on the rise in your world. And that is hate. Now, there is a place for hate in your existence. And I'm asking you, for those of you that choose to stay and listen, to listen with your heart, to be open, to contemplate this or to feel this singularly as you, the individual, but also collectively. Oh, it is important that hate is not skipped over, demonized, criminalized, that it is not thought of as a disease. And I don't mean that you should not take those that commit hate crimes out of the community and put them in a situation where there is the possibility of not only them not hurting others in the community, but their own rehabilitation, their own shift away from hate. But what I mean by criminalize is that there is a habit in the collective that if we criminalize hate, if we treat it like a disease, then we can avoid talking about it. You can avoid looking at it, going deeper into understanding it. It's easier just to lock it away, to pretend it doesn't exist, to make it the problem. But let's look at hate. And some of you may not really feel hate. Maybe you felt it at certain times in your life, but it's not typically something that you feel. Maybe some of you feel it, but you are so afraid of it that you cannot acknowledge it. You cannot acknowledge that you may be someone who is capable of hate. And it's a word, whatever language you speak it in, It is a word, it is an energy that carries enormous power. And that's what I want to talk about today, the power of hate. What it is and how that power is used. And how that can be transformed. So, what drives people to hate is a long-term culmination of repression. So think about hate as the energy that fills a volcano or a pressure cooker. It's something that builds and builds and builds and builds. And when it finally erupts, there is always an element of violence that is inherent in the power of hate. Now, that violence can come out just energetically, through speech, through body language, or actual physical violence, or all of that. And this repression is a product of the individual having untreated fear and trauma, coupled with those around them using the tactic of repression to silence them. And when all that fear builds up, first it can be frustration and resentment, and then anger. And the longer it is repressed, the more likely it turns to hatred. Because when fear is repressed, when an individual is repressed through outside forces, people, religion, their political or governing bodies, laws that are repressive, when it becomes too much, it fosters that feeling of helplessness within. And as an instinctual animal, feeling helpless is when you snap, right? It's when you lash out. Now, for some of you, you have become very practiced at taking that anger and channeling it out in ways that give you some relief from the pressure so that you don't carry the hate. People turn to drugs, to food, to alcohol, to gambling, to sex, to the screen, right? Whether it's internet or a TV. There are ways to numb or anesthetize the anger, the feeling of repression enough so that you don't have to carry around that hate. Because as an instinctual animal, you recognize at an early age that those that project their hate, that are always erupting, their volcanoes seem to just build quickly, more quickly than others, or there is more that they are repressing within themselves and that is being repressed. So there is this need to erupt all the time. And when you observe that, there is the feeling that, oh, that's not going to work out well for them. They are going to be taken out of the tribe. They are going to be punished for that in a way that you recognize you don't want to be punished. And some of you have not experienced the level of repression that can foster hate. Everyone is different. You, your essence, your life, all the choices you've made, all the experiences you've had, and how they affect you can make it easier for you to hate or more difficult. But whether it's easier or more difficult for you to hate does not make you better than or less than. It simply means that your vibrational energy predisposes you to feel hate more easily. And that can be a good thing. The more in touch you are with the true feelings, the true emotions, the true sensations that are happening inside of you, the easier it is to deal with them, to heal them, to shift them, to transform them. For you, the feeling of hate may be your big red flag to say, okay, wait a minute. What is going on here? Why am I so angry at the people in my life? And I would encourage you to always look to repression. Either you are repressing yourself, or others are seeking to repress you, and you're allowing it. You're going along with the repression. Either you are staying silent when you need to express something, or someone is in little ways that can almost go undetected. They are criticizing you. They are chipping away at your self-esteem, your sense of self-worth. That is a very powerful form of repression. People may have very big expectations of you because they feel a certain way about you, even if it's love. They may have built a big expectation that you are now supposed to love them the way they love you. And if you don't, there's something wrong with you. That's the subtle message. That is the repression. That they're trying to convince you to feel a certain way. They're trying to talk you into feeling a certain way. They're trying to pressure you to feel a certain way, to look a certain way, to be a certain way, to speak a certain way, to dress a certain way, to wear your hair a certain way. That this kind of pressure, this kind of expectation can weigh heavily. And if you then go along with it, even if it doesn't feel right within your being, you are saying yes to that repression. But it can only go on for so long before you erupt. And this is how you shake off these shackles, the ones that bind you in repression. But if you don't know that's what you're doing, you will simply blow up and reshackle yourself, blow up and reshackle yourself. And for some people, each eruption escalates and the violence becomes more and more. So maybe the violence begins at a young age where there's just a big expression of anger and then it blows over. But at some point, that expression of anger becomes more powerful in its projection onto others. The words become more violent. The energy becomes more frightening for those it is being projected onto. And then the line is crossed into physical violence. And this doesn't always have to look a certain way. It doesn't always have to look like someone raging and breaking things in the house. Oh no. The energy of hate can be projected onto others with a smile on their lips while they are slipping a drug into someone's drink and then raping them later. Hate can be patient. And if someone is willing to let that eruption happen all the time on a regular basis, that hate can be woven into the subtle actions and interactions throughout a person's life. It has a very powerful, corrosive presence. It can tear things down, but just like the eruption of a volcano over time, when there is healing, when things have cooled down, the soil is so rich, nutrient dense, because of what came from that eruption. That if those involved are willing to awaken, to recognize the repression, then you are moving into freedom. Hate is a last resort expression of deep, deep fears, deep trauma, deep pain. Those that carry pain generally make sure that others are in pain, because it's too much to carry alone. No one person was ever meant to bear that burden of so much pain and trauma. And the hate allows it to move, to come out, to come up and out, to say, I need help. I'm hurting. I'm hurting in a way that I can't even understand, can't describe. There are no words for, but it is red hot inside of me. So for those of you that have worked through so much of your own trauma, so much of your own pain, that you really don't feel this violent anger that is hatred, that you genuinely don't recognize it, then you are holding space for those that still do. And why is hate on the rise? There are lots of cliches in your world that it is darkest before the dawn. And there's a reason for that, because they hold true. And as you move into this new age in your world, this age of collaborative living, much more community living, right? So we circle back to the beginning of how you all conducted yourselves just this morning, before this all got up and going. You were a community, right? You worked collaboratively, all together, to figure it out. And everyone supported the process, right? That is the best example of how things are moving as this transition happens into this new age. But what is the darkest before the dawn is you are all reaping what has been sown for thousands of years with this pyramid power structure. It is the ultimate repression. A few people have consolidated power, and everyone else is either required to support those few people, to follow blindly those few people, hoping someday that by doing so, they get to be one of those few people who has the consolidated power. But of course, the chances of that happening are very, very, very small. So it is not as if everyone on the planet lives with this massive burden of feeling as though you are enslaved. But there is that energy that flows throughout humanity at this time. And a lot of people are finally waking up to this repression, and they are angry. And if it is coupled with repression that has come through childhood, or because of your sex, women experience a lot of repression in general, globally. Or people of a certain color that live in a certain place. So if you add that repression into what's going on in the collective, you are going to have a lot of volcanoes. people are going to erupt. And they may not even understand why, or they feel it's completely justified because it's the only way for them to feel they have a real voice. It's the only thing they know to do in order to force their way into that small circle of consolidated power that exists in pockets within your world. And no, I'm not talking about something like the Illuminati. You don't really even need that. You have enough of people who take power. That's it, period. They just take it. They figure out a way to get to that place of consolidated power. They step in, they become a part of it, and they hold on to it for as long as they can. But that system is dying. It is falling apart. And people don't understand what is going to replace it. They are afraid. So I bring this all up today, beloved ones, so that you can understand your own anger. Whether you have flare-ups of hate or you seem to carry that within you. What are you repressing within yourself? And what are you allowing to be repressed? How are you giving away your power? How are you allowing others to control you? Or how do you feel you're being controlled even if you're not? Even if no one is actually trying to control you in your life, but it feels like you are being controlled. That is where you need to look. And you will find that people will shift and flow quickly now from one thing to the other. Because on one hand, they are desperately wanting to break those chains. They want to have more equality. Because they want to feel that they are rising, that they are seen as a person, a real person, with dreams, with feelings, with aspirations, with needs. They want to be seen and accepted. But at the same time, they don't know exactly how to live that way. And so they are seeking those same consolidations of power. It's just dressed differently, right? So a wonderful example of this is, let's tear down the government. Let's not trust anything they say, but let's trust a shadowy figure on the internet that I've never met or seen, don't know anything about, don't know who they are. But this individual or group of individuals is consolidating their own power. And look what they've done. They have created a power base, and people have simply migrated from one to another. But how do you live without those power bases? How do you live without someone or some small group of people telling you how to live? You don't know. And that is frightening. So if you are someone who does not feel as though you hold hate anymore within you, be that light for those that do. Just hold them in your heart and trust that the hate that is erupting is creating fertile soil for you all to find your way together, to figure out what it means to be in a community, a big community. Maybe you have to practice in a very small community first before you can learn to thrive in a big community. But be careful that you don't give your time and your effort and your focus to those who are in hate, for those who are drowning in fear, for those who cannot let go. If you find yourself spending time within those arenas, ask yourself, does this bring me joy? Do I feel the love here in this arena with these people? Going down this exploration? Is this a supportive community? Do I feel loved? Is it easy for me to love? And are we really here learning how to be equal? How to be in a community that is supportive, that puts kindness before cruelty, that puts the needs of all before the wants of one or a few. In order to thrive in community, beloved ones, in order to transform hate, you will be asked to focus on your needs, the needs of those around you, the needs of the community, not your wants. Because if there's a lot of repression happening and things are falling apart and people are frightened when you don't get what you want, that is one of the sparks that light that tinder of hate within to create eruptions. And while, yes, the eruptions ultimately do create fertile soil, you can have that fertile soil without the eruptions. We simply try to provide the opportunity for fertile growth in love, no matter what. Whether you all are getting along and figuring it out and being kind to each other, or whether you are hating and shooting each other in the streets. Always, always, the opportunity is provided to move to love, to move to compassion and understanding without sacrificing your needs, your essence, what feels right for you. Hate will continue to grow in this world until you all stop denying it and pushing it away, pretending it doesn't exist. You don't have to join in the hate in order to hold the light that will transform it. You do not have to feel yourself superior to others because you might not feel hate and they do. This is simply what is in your world. So to give love to the hate, whether it's inside you or inside others. Love yourself within the hate and love others within the hate. That doesn't mean that their behavior is excused, justified, or simply allowed to go on. It just means that you have chosen to stop denying and ignoring what is. And I know that what I'm saying today is a lot to take in. And I thank you for your willingness to hear with your heart and your mind, to be open to finding another way. Without the need to overuse drugs, alcohol, food, gambling, sex, to use all these things in an unhealthy way to anesthetize. When you feel repressed, when your fears become so big that they're about to turn into anger and maybe even hatred and possibly even erupt. So eat a chocolate bar to calm things down. Have a few glasses of wine to calm things down. Spend another few hours on the internet to calm things down. Your world cannot anesthetize anymore. You must face your feelings, beloved ones, and the feelings of others. And do your best to love them all. And I promise you, this is how you set yourselves free. I love you. And when you forget love, just breathe me in and I will remind you. Namaste. Wow. Okay. That was unexpected and so powerful for me. I don't know how that was for you all, but oh my goodness. Thank you again for being here with us today, for your patience, for your love of community and being so great with each other and with me, with supporting me and helping me get through this. I so appreciate it. Yes, Deborah, sobering. That is a good word for it. And so necessary to hear, at least for me. Hard to hear, hard to face that. I like to convince myself that it's easier just to keep hate and people who do it or practice it or whatever, or erupting all the time, to keep that out of my life, and as if somehow, it won't affect me ultimately. It's not just anesthetize it. I anesthetize myself, but I want to sterilize hate. I want to sterilize all the messy stuff in life and pretend sometimes that it just, doesn't have anything to do with me. I thought so too, Quibbles. And thanks again for helping me, reminding me to reset the internet and fiddle with that. I would not have done that. You are welcome, Barbara. You're welcome, Deborah. Well, Deborah, you weren't that late because I was half an hour late starting. So you probably caught more than you thought you were going to. Oh, yes. And just to remember that we do have the ability to love, even if it's just the smallest thing, Sometimes for me, the most loving thing that I can do is not to participate in the hate. I've really been evaluating, what I watch online and what I read online. And there's a lot of subtle ways that I try to anesthetize hate, by laughing at it or feeling superior. That's a big way. And I've really been re-examining that a lot this past year since COVID, since we're all in COVID. It's given me the opportunity to really look at that part of myself and begin to transform it in earnest. And I find that I'm feeling so much more compassion for the people in this world than I did. And it was subtle, I had really kind of hidden it. And well, you can't stick with mother and keep things hidden. It's just, that is not the way she works. So yeah, it's been a lot about revelation and clarity over the last couple of years here. So thank you again. Love you. Love you. Have a, I forgot to tell you because of all the mishmash that happened at the beginning. I will not be doing a live stream next Monday. I'll be out of town, but I will be resuming on the 29th of November. So I'll see you all then, but I am doing the weekly meditation this week, the daily meditation this week. And next week, I'm going to start on Wednesday. So I'll just be doing Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Oh yeah, is that Thanksgiving? Totally this is how my life works. Where am I? Okay, so I take it all back. I'm not, because I forgot about all that. So I won't be doing any live streams next week. So I'll be out of town for the Monday live stream. And then it's the holiday for, so next week we're off and then I'll resume on the 29th, but I am doing it this week. Okay, hope that wasn't too confusing. Okay, love you all. Have an awesome week. Mwah. Thank you. Bye-bye.